Hey guys, Lyra here. So today we're going to do a book summary of the book called Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. So this book is so famous. It's sold over 5 million copies worldwide. That is a lot of sales, Daniel. We're going to go through the 7 ways that you can boost your emotional intelligence. And these are all suggestions from our friend Daniel. He makes the main argument in his book that emotional intelligence, as opposed to IQ, is actually a better predictor of someone's academic success, job performance, and just overall life success in general. It's just a better way to predict how well someone is going to do in their future. And unlike IQ, throughout your life, you can increase your emotional intelligence, whereas IQ seems a bit more fixed. So it's actually something that you can actively work to improve and raise throughout your entire life. So the first way to boost your emotional intelligence is to just be aware, right? The first step is awareness. You have to have the ability to be aware that you're angry, be aware that you're disgusted, sad, whatever. You need to actually verbally say to yourself, I feel sad. I recognize that I feel sad. So sad. Yeah, so you need to have that. And there are actually people who are incapable of doing this, believe it or not. And studies and research has shown that people who are unable to identify their own emotions are actually more prone to being violent. So it's definitely something that's really, really important for your overall mental health. And if you have kids, I would highly recommend teaching them how to recognize their own emotions. The second way to boost your emotional intelligence is that once you're aware that you're feeling pissed off or whatever, you have to figure out why. What is the cause of your feelings? Why do you feel this way? So a classic example is that if someone calls you something, calls you a name, criticizes you, makes a negative statement about you, and you're like highly offended, you're like just like, what the fuck, just straight pissed, it's because whatever that person said about you, a small part of you believes that whatever they said was true. So you actually secretly agree with them. So if they say you're dumb and you're like so offended, it's because a part of you actually believes that, right? Because if you didn't believe it, it wouldn't emotionally affect you. It wouldn't affect you at all. You would just think it's funny. Really, you would just laugh it off as a joke and genuinely not give a fuck. So you really just have to ask yourself why you believe that about yourself, question the validity of that belief, and then learn to just no longer believe that about yourself. No longer hold it as a belief in your subconscious mind. And once you actually truly deal with that mentally, it's not going to bother you when someone calls you dumb or someone calls you ugly or someone calls you whatever. It's not going to bother you anymore. And so yeah, that is the second way. The third way is to use inner dialogues. So this is just talking to yourself. Okay, but talking to yourself and reasoning with yourself in order to make sense of your emotions and again, what's causing them. But you can do this through journaling, or you can just talk to yourself. You can do this while you're meditating. You can say, why do I feel this way? What is it about this or that in my life that is making me angry? And just keep talking to yourself and taking advantage of the inner dialogue that you are capable of in order to sort through your emotions. The fourth way to really amp up your emotional intelligence is to mirror someone's body language. So this has to do with empathizing with other people. We have mirror neurons in our brains that literally fire off when we see someone going through some kind of emotional trauma, pain, or even happiness, some kind of intense emotion. We will have those same neurons in our brains firing when we witness someone else going through something. So we are naturally empathetic. Our brains are naturally wired to be empathetic. And scientists have discovered that when you actually mirror someone's body language, you kind of become in sync and in tune with their emotional state. So if someone is experiencing trauma, or they're sad, or there's something bothering them, they're going to have a hunched posture. They might have a tense jawline. They're going to have all of the body language type of indications of, I'm really upset. And if you kind of mirror that, you'll be able to emphasize with them a lot more and know where they're coming from. And to know where people are coming from is a really, really important skill. That's how you truly connect with someone. The fifth way is to use your emotions to self motivate yourself. And this has to do with tapping into the way that you perceive things. So as you go through life, you're going to naturally go through a series of successes and failures. And it's not so much what these successes and failures are, it's how you choose to see these successes and failures. And they found that the key difference between people who do reach high levels of success and people who are just kind of mediocre is that they view failure in a different way. People who don't really get too far in life see failure as something that's like the ultimate destiny, like it's their destiny, and there's something just unfixable about themselves that just makes them failures, and it's something that's outside of their control. Whereas people who are successful do not view failure that way. They instead see it as a lesson to be learned, and that when they have failure, it's due to something that they can change, and they try again because they hold the belief that success is something that's dependent on their actions. So because they believe that, their emotional state matches it, and they get amped up and motivated and pumped up to just keep trying and trying and trying, because they know that eventually they will reach the goals that they want to reach because it's in their control. And the last two ways are kind of like hacks, just little strategies that you can use when you're in a romantic relationship with someone, or just a really, really close friendship, or you could even use this with your children. A lot of fights and root causes of miscommunication in relationships is due to the fact that men and women think differently and they seek different things. And so really, if you understood the psychology of the opposite sex, you would understand their motivations, what they actually want, and it would save you a lot of bullshitting, honestly. For instance, women were kind of raised to talk about their feelings, whereas men were really quite discouraged from doing that, and they were supposed to like appear strong. Because of this kind of like disconnect in emotional awareness, there's a lot of problems when men and women communicate. So say your girlfriend's complaining to you about a problem in her life, you know, she's just like venting. A lot of husbands or boyfriends will try to constantly present solutions, because that's kind of like male communication style is, okay, you have a problem, let's solve it right now. They're very direct and they're very solution oriented. Whereas when women have issues, it's not necessarily that they want a solution to their problem, they just want their feelings to be validated. They want to feel validated and heard. So if you have a girlfriend who's complaining about her coworker or whatever, and you just keep suggesting ways to solve her problem, she could actually take that more as a rejection of how she feels rather than your attempt to help. And your best case would have just been to just sit down and listen to her and just be someone there to listen to how she's feeling. That's really what she wanted. Another like hack that you can have in a relationship is, obviously you're gonna have disagreements, arguments, quarrels, and fights, is that if you feel that you are getting too emotionally involved and your emotions are becoming too intense and too strong, it's a really good indication that you need to take a break to cool down. Because research has shown that if you're in an intense emotional state, you literally lose the ability to reason properly and to be logical. Like, you can no longer have a rational conversation if you were in a really intense emotional state. So a lot of marriage counselors actually suggest that people measure their pulses when they're having a disagreement or an argument, and if their pulse reaches above a certain threshold, that's when they have to stop talking and go cool down, because they're not going to get anywhere. They're not going to be rational anymore because they're too emotional, right? So those are the 7 ways that you can boost your emotional intelligence, and basically the main points of this book. If you enjoyed this book summary, check out the book summary app called Blinkist. It is an app that has all of the best-selling nonfiction books in summary version, so you can read 20 books in one day and learn a shit ton of information. Okay guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.